Noi, noi n-auzăm, Sergiu.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Can you hear us?
Okay, should we start? Can we start?
I think yes. I think we can start. We will allow the others to enter the our master class today. I will make a small introduction in Romanian for our friends who are attending. Bună ziua tuturor! Așteptăm până se conectează toată lumea. Eu mă numesc Lilian Severin, sunt la Pot Music. Alături de mine este Sergiu Gopleac la pupitrul de sunet. Îi avem pe băieții din camera de studio care vor participa în masterclassul de astăzi, condus de domnul Arnon, doctorul Arnon Palty, care este profesor la Academia din Ierusalim de muzică și dans, care ne va ține o masterclass astăzi la tema ce și cum exersăm în jazz. Domnul Palty este un mare admirator al muzicii și consideră că muzica va aduce pacea, poate aduce pacea. Mr. Palty, I made my duty today. We would like to thank you so much for this involvement, and we hope that our joint efforts will develop something in our small country. Maybe some collaborations and future works together. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the picture of, okay, here it is. Okay, I know some of you already from, the email correspondence. But if you could just, tell me a little bit about yourself, guys, players, musicians.
Here we have all the...
And also if you can just speak up because mic is very low. The volume is not really...
So you can't hear us
if you can
very well?
Yeah, just speak up onto the mic.
Okay, from the band we have the students from our Academy of Music, except for myself because they don't have a bass player. We have Oleg on saxophone, we have Roma on the piano, and Max on the drums. And I think we have more students and former students from our academy that are connecting right now. So I hope we will be, I don't know, 10, 15 people. So Arnon, how do you want to do this? Do you want us to play first, or do you want to talk first and...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I think that you probably know the basic stuff because you play for a while, I believe. I think that we should concentrate on two things. The things that we have to do and things that you want to do, okay? Which are sometimes the same and sometimes they are not. When we spoke, we decided that the topic of the masterclass would be what to practice and how to practice, which is probably the best way to approach it. I think that what we have to practice, we can actually talk about this a little bit. What we need to do in order to make jazz and our playing like a language, which is, some sort of communication, we need a couple of things. Before we get into the repertoire, just, real book or omnibook, the literature that we all know, Charlie Parker, and now there are so many other omnibooks. Like Parker was just a model, but there are also um, tons of different ones, like Monk, Omnibook, and Coltrane, and Miles Davis, etc. So, and we have so much information um, on the internet, YouTube, and everything. So this is one thing, and we also, because of Spotify, Apple, and all that, we have access to the music. I mean, back in the day, we should go to libraries and look for albums, or just order vinyl albums. So everything accessible. This is one thing that is great, and that's why basically all communities of jazz are growing very fast now. Kids are not what they used to be, as we say. Everyone is exposed to almost endless amount of information. So we have to sort it out, because we have like almost an inflation of information. Okay, so we have to stick to some basic stuff that we must remember. Repertoire is cool, but we have to stick and understand forms. Okay, and I think that blues and rhythm changes are probably the ones that we begin with. So, but you can play whatever you want, and then we can talk. And I'll just give you some, hopefully, I hope, helpful insights. And of course, I would like to hear yours as well, and not only the players' insights, but everyone who's on board now. Everyone, okay?
Okay, so do you want us to play? 'Cause
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. So that was Take the A Train, John Ellington, Duke Ellington, of course, dedicated to the A Train that takes people to Harlem. Harlem is very nice and quiet now. Back in the day, it wasn't that nice, and it was,
We can't hear you.
I don't know why it gets muted. Um, can you hear me now? It
Yes.
does it by itself. I don't do anything. Okay, so Take the A Train, Ellington. Um, okay, it was nicely played. Very nice. Everything was, right. Um, you did the 4 and 4 with the drums. Everyone took solos. One thing that I want to emphasize is, I'm just talking about stuff that I heard. Um, we have to do, it's like a Zen thing. We have to know some things and not to do them. Okay? I'll explain. For example, what would be the first chord?
C6.
Okay, 6 or major 7, right? It's a tonic, right? And then the second chord
Is the second dominant.
yeah, it's like, it's like D7, right? So now, and then we have a 2-5 and like a turnaround, okay? This is probably, the A. It's like C, D7, D minus 7, G, and then either C, A, D, G, or any other thing that, comes in relation with that, which is called turnaround. Now, I would like to ask about chord scales for the first chord. Chord scales are one thing that we have to know, but we don't really play them because we don't really want to play scales. So, what are really chord scales? Basically, they are like architectural materials to build the chord from. We don't really run up and down the scale. What we have to know that this is the ambience that we are in. So we don't really play. I mean, Jamie Eberson always has, like C, and then he would write either C major for the one chord or Lydian to avoid the 4. And then on the 2 chord, right, which is either 5/5 or a Lydian 2, D7, back in the old days, the scale would be whole tone scale, just like what you did on the bass. You did augmented chords, right? Remember that?
Yes.
That's why it's, back in the day it used to be whole tone scale there. But, bebop, actually, Parker and Dizzy and also Monk and some other people, Bud Power, actually put Lydian 7 on that specific chord as a substitute for the very impressionistic whole tone that came from, Debussy, Ravel, and all that. Ellington was very influenced by, both. Actually, it's Billy Strayhorn, this tune. So they're both very, influenced by Impressionism. So that was a good chance to use some whole tone back in the day. But as we say, they switched it into on the second chord. They switched it into Lydian flat 7. Now, what is Lydian flat 7? If this is a D chord, so I'm asking the piano player, okay, if he can play on the left hand a D7, which is D, F sharp, and C, right? And the right hand will play an E chord, okay?
И в правой руке играть ми.
D7, and on top there is an E chord.
И
Mi, sol, diez, si.
ми мажор. Ми, сол, диез, си. Да, в правой руке. Без рэп.
Yeah, so this is the new sound. Back in the day, that chord was augmented. stuff like that. So we can actually alternate between the periods, either very old, 20s, 30s, and then a little bit more modern, which would be bebop, polychords, upper structures, and all that. And then we can actually play it when we improvise. And then another thing that I would like to emphasize on this very example, because we can use that as an example. Then we go to D minus 7 and G7, right?
Yes.
How can we define this? We're in C. What's D minus 7 and G7?
It's just a 2-5-1.
Yeah, it's a unit that is called 2-5. It can be followed by 1. It doesn't have to, because it's strong enough. It's like a link. It's like go to. If it's 2-5, it's also 1 without playing the 1, because it's like on the path. Okay, it's like a link that you press on the computer and you get to some from point A to point B. So what are we doing? Actually, what are we supposed to do on 2-5s? That's a question. If
Что
anybody
мы
can.
должны делать на 2-5-1? I think we should resolve the 2-5 to the 1, or make a link from the what was played before to what will be played after the 2-5. Usually it's the tonic. We can't hear you again. I think you muted the mic.
Sorry, it happens by itself. Okay, don't really do anything. Must be the Wi-Fi. What do we play on a 2-5, and actually 4 types of 2-5s do we have? Okay. We have short 2-5s, which happen in one bar. 2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5. And then we have long ones that would take each a bar. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4. These are the 2 types as far as length. And then we have other 2 that are either major or minor. So the major 2-5 would have, for example, in C, D minus 7 and G7. And the minor would be D minus 7 flat 5 half diminished, and G7 flat 9 mostly. So this is like a distinction between minor and major cadences. The thing is that we have to play on 2-5s when they come 2-5 licks. I mean, this is also, we don't have anything. I mean, it's just that if we want to study the style, that's what we have to practice. Even though this is very artificial, okay? It's like implant. It's like it's not natural, but it's just for the sake of developing the ear and practicing the language. It's just like if we go to some country and we want to talk, I mean, we just go to, say, France, and we want to, get by. So we learn sentences from a little book, right? Sentence book, phrase book. And, this is the best way to learn languages is by phrase books, by the way, not grammar, not words, because words, if we don't know what to do with them, they won't connect, right? And grammar is, it's a big thing. It's scientific. So if we want to get into language, the best way is to learn phrases. Like I know that in Romanian you say, just like in French, merci, because I have a lot of Romanian friends. Okay? I don't speak the language, but I do know some things. And I know some phrases too. I think that, my point is that once we approach the 2-5s, we have to play 2-5 phrases on them. Okay? Now the way to understand the 2-5 thing, the best is just to see where it starts. Okay, 2-5-1 starts at the 2. Okay, and the 2 is, if we're in major, it's Dorian, right? And if it's in minor, it's Locrian, usually Locrian natural 9, which is 6th mode of melodic minor. Okay, so I will play. I mean, I do have a piano here. I'll try to play something. I'm not a piano player, I'm a bass player. But you know, I'll show you some. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a 2-5-1. Major, right? Or another one from the 2. Another one from the another one from the 5th. Now this is all technical stuff. It's all technical, and this is only major stuff. So you know, it has the color because it's, you know, it's bebop. It's the invention of Parker, and you know, and everyone used it. I mean, if we listen to at least 40 years of hard bop and bebop and hard bop, which means Al Farmer, Clifford Brown, everyone, you know, Cannonball Adderley, they all play licks, 2-5 licks. Now, there's nothing bad about it. I mean, if I want, you know, spaghetti bolognese, I will have to buy spaghetti and some meat, you know. If I'm vegetarian, it will be soy meat, you know, I don't want to offend anybody. And, you know, it will be that thing, that dish. Okay, if I want, you know, a sandwich, a cheese sandwich, you know, I'll take, you know, a bun and some cheese and, you know, lettuce, tomato, whatever. I mean, there is, you know, a thing about certain doings. Is there any question regarding this? I mean, just to make
Yes.
sure that I understood.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So do you say, are you saying that we should transcribe 2-5-1s as there is and play them as quotes, or you know, transcribe them and just learn them and use them wherever we want?
Yeah, I think that we have to know a bunch of them. I mean, I think that the best is, you know, to read a lot, you know, stuff. Parker, Miles Davis, a lot of, you know, information, or just transcribe a lot of solos, and within those solos, you know, we'll find a lot of 2-5s, and we can isolate them. I mean, back in the day, you know, I used to do like a dictionary, you know, like encyclopedia, okay, of licks. That were my favorites because I believe that, you know, if you like something, it's yours. You know, it rings a bell in you, okay, it's specific. It talks to you, it speaks to you, so it's yours. So you can use it with no regret because, you know, it resonances with you. That means that, you know, it's you. You know, it's yours. And we have to stick to those four forms, minor and major, and the short one and the long ones. This is very important. I know that it sounds very technical, but this is only for starters. It's only to get by. I mean, you know, when we start, you know, to everyone of you know, of us, when we started to ride a bicycle, you know, we used to, you know, to use those little, you know, small wheels just to help ourselves, you know. So and eventually we got rid of them. So this is the same thing. It's just for the sake of learning, and then we can, just get rid of them because we hear the thing. I mean, we have like a blend of how it should sound, and then we can actually play um, inside the language. So this is what I'm just talking about stuff that I heard that heard in the playing that should be emphasized on. Okay, the playing was very good. This is one thing that I felt that that was a little bit lacking. Again, everyone is doing a lot of practice, and everyone is doing the same. It's pretty much the same thing that we all work on. I still work on my 2/5s, and I discovered some really interesting things that I would like to share with you. If you take a phrase on the 2, okay, a nice phrase on the 2, and you convert it, either up a minor third or up a tritone, you'll get the 5. Okay, that's the mathematics of minor or melodic minor. That's the way it works. Okay, so that's one thing that you should try and see. If you have like a 2, repeating the idea. If you have a 2, a phrase of 2, and you play it up a tritone or up a minor third, it should work. Okay, this is one thing. And there's another trick that I like a lot, because it brings you joy, and you just start to practice more when it sounds good and it makes sense, the symmetrical stuff. If you play a 2 in minor, if you play a certain lick on the 2 and then you take it up a minor third for the 5, and then the same lick up a major third, you'll get the 1. Okay, also, because the D melodic minor, okay, is for D minor, and then the F melodic minor is for the G altered, and then the A minor melodic minor is for the C minor 6. So it works. Okay, so these are tricks of the trades that everyone is using, and that's why it sounds so good. I mean, I think the best example would be like modernist, like Brecker, okay, because that's what he does a lot. But it's just a lot of routine, a lot of practice, and this is one thing that actually is fascinating about jazz, that it's very systematic within the language. Okay, there are many tricks, and they all make sense mathematically. I mean, there is some brain beneath that. Okay. What else is there? Okay. Sorry. I'm going to shut this down. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sure.
Any more questions? By the way, there are a lot of people here. I would like to see them, but I don't know if they are here or they went to eat.
Dragi prieteni, dacă aveți careva întrebări, la sfârșit putem să le adresăm domnului Arnon. Arnon, I just said that if there are questions, should I put them at the end of the session or right now from the audience, I mean?
Yeah, we can. I mean, I think that if we don't ask the questions now, we might forget. So anytime is a good time.
Haideți, prieteni, dacă aveți întrebări, puteți, dacă nu le puteți adresa în engleză, adresați-le în român, eu am să le traduc.
May I have a question?
Please.
Sorry, my English. You said that one trick we can use is minor 2 up a tritone, and we have a 5. Yeah. This I noticed for me. Can you repeat another tricks you use? You said, please.
Yeah, for minor, if you have in minor, you play a lick in the D minor 7 flat 5, and then you play the same thing up a third, a minor third, for the G7, and then another major third for the 1. Okay, so it's a phrase in D minor, 7 flat 5, and then in F minor 7 flat 5 over G, which is G7 altered, and then we go up a major third, and we get like A minor 7 flat 5, which is over C, which is C6, C minor 6. This is the logic behind it.
Okay, thanks. I will try it.
Sure. It's fun. It sounds good. Now, when you comp, it's everyone. It's guitar players and arrangers and piano players. When you comp, you don't really need too much in the left hand. You just need, the root and 2 guitons, 3 and 7. That's enough. That's, everyone is doing this for years. We don't need the whole chord, of course. And then we can play a lot of stuff which completes it, because if we just put a lot of information on the left hand, it makes it blurry, it's not clear. Okay, we have enough time, right? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Any other questions, please?
Есть вопросы?
Petro, Eugene, Igor, Olivia. Yeah, I'm just reading the names. Yeah. Okay. We don't know if they're here, or maybe they went for a sandwich in the cafeteria, right? Okay. So we can take a different song, different tune.
Пробуем еще одну песню. Давай Пентапхаус. Да?
Sounded good. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
You
Wow.
sounded very good. Okay. The bass is okay because someone, Krista, wrote that it's in distortion, but it's okay. I mean, this is Zoom, so that's the way it goes. I mean, it probably gets into the mic, so it makes it, a little. But that's, it sounds okay. Okay, this is a good tune for 2/5s because it's 2/5, 2/5/1, 2/5, 2/5/1, 2/5/1, 2/5, 2, okay, and then another one A D G, right? Sonny Rollins, Span Up House. Okay, the best thing to do is just to think. Okay, 2/5, 2/5 G, 2/5, 2/5/1. 2/5 or 2/5/1 or 2/5 2/5/1 2/5 2, okay, and then I mean it's pretty fast, but I mean if we're playing it like this, like okay, so these are like inside the language, um, and it's bebop, and what I was doing is I just put together a lot of 2/5s. This is a very um, how can I say, essential practice that we cannot skip because it sounds very funny. Okay, so everything is 2/5s. Answer is not everything, but it's a good start. It's like it's like wheels on a car or on bicycles. I mean that makes the vehicle move. Okay, and we don't have too many vehicles, but the ones that we have as human beings are either with wheels or water, engine, or floating in the air. So until we float in the air, we have to go on the ground with wheels, and the wheels are 2/5s. I mean, it sounds like priesting, the gospel, but it's pretty much what there is, which makes it either right or wrong for starters, and then you can do a lot of stuff on your own. You can decide what's right and what's wrong for you. You remember the best, the very well-known sentence that Mingus, no, not Mingus, Monk said. People saw Monk getting off stage very, very, angry and disappointed, and they asked him, Mr. Monk, what happened? I mean, that was fantastic. It was a, fantastic show. Everyone is applauding you. He said, I played all wrong mistakes. Okay? That means that he has, he had back in the day right mistakes and wrong mistakes. And he had a bad day and he played all wrong mistakes. Okay? Because he wasn't focused. So, I mean, until we make our own mistakes or decide what's right and what's wrong, we have to, study, the language. I mean, it's like writing a book or writing even a letter. We have to stick to the language. I mean, if I want to write an email which will be understood, I have to use, phrases and stuff like that. But, you are on a good way because you're 80%, 90% there, absolutely. It sounds good. It's just, fine-tuning that you have to do. But all in all, you know what you're doing, and it just needs some stuff that is actually not coming so much from the heart, but a little bit from the brain. I don't really believe that music is, brainy. but it has to go through the filter of the brain, um, especially jazz and especially modern jazz, bebop or hard bop, because it has a language in it, and everything with language and grammar has also mathematics. That's the way it is. It's scientific in a way, and I think that it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not like, okay, um, oh, I don't really want to get into the math. You know, it's not math like in school. It's good. It's a good math. You know, every art has, you know, good math in it. It must have it, symmetrics, and you know, and even, you know, cooking has its own math because we deal with, you know, right quantities and all that. You know. Okay. Um, we have some more time, so we can actually we can work on another thing, or if someone has a questions,
Yes,
you know,
I have a question.
please.
Hi, my name is Dan.
Dan,
I
Uh,
don't.
Dan, o secundă. I think this session could disconnect in few minutes. So
Okay.
if it occurs, then we can reconnect on the same link. I'm sorry for
Okay.
that. Our Zoom
Sure.
is free. Yeah, Dan, go on.
okay. I we are here 3 or 4 guitar players. So I am asking. My question is about the instrument thinking. You know, our instrument, the guitar player and bass player, it's in its construction, it's not linear. It's not like piano or saxophone. So the same phrase in the same tonality has like 16 different variables to play it.
To finger, yeah,
Yes,
fingering.
fingers. Yes. So and if you add different octaves, it's more crazy.
Right.
So the question is what is your way of building the vocabulary and freeing your mind in this position playing and to play this phrase. It's like you're thinking in the like numbers. I play in the flat 9 and I go to the third and or I don't know what is your approach to this vocabulary building?
Okay, I play guitar also, you know, and I mean, I used to work on Joe Pass's books and memorize them because I was very interesting back in the day. Now I know how to do it in chord melody. So, you know, first of all, just to understand the logic of chord melody, and then to translate everything melodic into, you know, the block, you know, playing. This is one thing. And then I think that Wes Montgomery and Pat Martino, they have a different, you know, way of thinking. You know, Joe Pass came from Wes for sure. Everyone came from Wes Montgomery because he's like the godfather of, you know, jazz guitar. Maybe Charlie Christian before him and all, you know, all that. But I think that in many ways, guitar is very friendly because it's symmetrical. Whatever you do, you can copy paste on the instruments if you know 4 positions or 3 positions, you know, with a little, you know, variance because of that, you know, crazy E string that, you know, makes everything, you know, different every time, you know, because it's not pure fourth, it has a third there that makes the picture a little bit different. Um, but I think that, you know, in many ways, guitar is more friendly to work on stuff because it looks the same and it sounds the same if you just shift it. So it's actually a fantastic instrument for vocabulary, just like bass, electric bass, not upright, is a great instrument for ear training because it's there. As far as intervals, it's the same. Now, acoustic bass, upright is not because we have to play a lot of open strings, and it looks different. I mean, this is like the way they teach upright. Use a lot of open strings and all that. So it loses the relativity, as we say. But it's a good question then, and I think that you can actually use the logic of the guitar in your benefit, and just see how everything is actually similar and movable. Movable stuff. There is the famous Misty by Joe Pass that everyone studies, but nobody is trying to get it in E or in D or in C because everyone is like saying, okay, it's not easy as it is. So why move it? But the thing is that if we try to move it, and we see that actually it makes sense, in many many other ways and places on the guitar which are the same, but they look different. This is what we have to do. This is a big thing. I mean, every instrument has its own tricks of the trade. Saxophone is totally different because it's linear, like a piano. It doesn't look the same at all. Everything looks different. Um,
Yeah, about the symmetrical things, yes, I totally agree. And when you move like 1, 2, 3 half steps, it's has its own guitar has its own very powerful things. I'm definitely. I say about more like to play as you said a lick. Like I'm playing on the same position. I'm playing like D minor, and to play the same lick like in F minor, but not moving the hand on the third to play the symmetric, but to stay in the same position. So I'm talking about this freedom of mind that like I'm struggling. Like I have this phrase in this position, and to quickly transcribe I have to practice. I don't have this on free. I'm yes, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah, I think that okay, I will try to rephrase it. I think that the big struggle, everyone is doing this. Actually, even drums that are supposedly non-melodic, but they are very melodic. I think that we have to get the info right. We have to be able to sing a correct solo. Okay, as far as bebop, as far as 2/5, as far as the whole gamut, we haven't spoken about the blues, but the blues is very important. And rhythm changes, all sorts, and very, all those formulas and, substitutions and all that. We have to know them all. Um, I think that once we know how to sing them, actually sing them out loud, we don't have really to be singers, but we have to be able um, to sing, to sing it with the right notes. And then what we do is figuring out how, the connection between our ears when they're developed enough to sing it right to the instrument. And that's, a lot of work for sure, but this is the whole fun to make the instrument an extension of ourselves. That's, this is the main goal. I mean, that's what we work so hard on, you know. Thanks for a great question. Yeah.
Another question. When you have like a fast rhythm changes or giant step stuff, it's a better way. It's phrase thinking or guideline thinking or grouping like yes, obviously when 251 it you think it as one group and not thinking every chord, but to make a story, it's not just one block and then other block and then you lose the story. And in approaching quick changing chords, what kind of technique personally you think it's more, or it's this you have the melody in the head and you just tell it with the instrument? Well,
Okay, okay. Two things. Rhythm changes. It's all about turnarounds. Okay. For example, if you go and take a B flat, the end is just a blues thing. Okay, but B, G, C, F, stuff like that. D, okay, and then the D instead of the B flat. Um, Now, these are, the turnaround is a unit because it's two fives connected, but it's one unit. So we do stuff like, and then we combine it with the blues always because it's, rhythm changes is an extension of the blues in many ways, you know. Um, and then we approach the bridge, which is another turnaround, but a big one because it's a big D with a big G, with a big C, and a big F, like, the bridge. Or, so just different dimensions of the same thing. Okay, bam, 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 bam. And then the bridge is bam, 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 bam. It's the same thing, just, micro, macro kind of relations. And then we have the chromatic, bam, 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 ba-ba-do-ba-do, ba-ba-do-ba-do, stuff like that, which is chromatic. This is a lesson within itself. But we just have to see what Parker did on those because these are the practices, two fives, and then rhythm changes as a whole, okay, which is the next step, and we have to practice blueses, different type of blueses, different structures like blues for Alice and just Billy's Bounce, different structures, and also rhythm changes has so many variations within itself. Like if we take the internal triangle of Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, and Dizzy Gillespie, check it out. Different series of harmony. There is an involvement, like it's like a metamorphosis of everything. The blues and rhythm changes, they all develop in a certain way, and we have to know them all. It takes time, but we have time. We have time. That's a great use of time. I think that what's going on now in the world is a lesson that, it's a lesson that, we're doing the good things while some other people do bad stuff, okay? So this is, we have to remember that and, be happy that we are the good guys, okay? And the good guys, as we are, we just practice music and we make ourselves and other people happy. So that means that we have to practice at least, 10 hours a day. Research, read, try on the instruments, and then we take it to the clubs and to audiences and, records, whatever we have. This is our mission, on earth. We have to take the responsibility for that, I think. I was thinking about it for the last 2 weeks because, we see everything that goes on, and you guys are very close to the picture. You're very much in there, right? So, this is just, it's not even philosophical, it's practical. But I had to say it because it's, on a positive note. Any other questions or anything that you would like to play, guys?
I have a question.
Please.
So you talked about learning two fives as our vocabulary, and my question is, I know a lot of jazz teachers say that we should practice scales, and we
Yeah,
should practice arpeggios and things like that. So
yeah,
in the beginning, you said that we shouldn't play in a solo, like we normally don't play just scales, so up and down. Instead, we
right.
play phrases. So what is the place of those exercises that we do? Arpeggios, chord
Okay,
scales, and things like
okay.
that.
That's great, great question. I believe personally that we have to know all the scales. Okay. I mean, for example, I mean dominance. Whatever they are, they could be major, main dominance or secondary dominance. We have two types. 5 off and 7 diminished. Fully diminished off. We have to know the scales because this is the architecture, one. And two, there are building blocks of the language that we cannot ignore because these are actually things that we have to play on the instruments. We have to do that. I mean, I think that, as a bass player, I always admired Ray Brown and the way he arpeggiated, everything on the whole instrument. Plus, the scales are so, well constructed. So we have to know that, but it has to do with three things: ear, okay, which means that we hear where we are if we play scales. Secondly, it's the instruments itself. It's just the physique of the instrument. It's like singers have to train their voices. We have to do the arpeggios and the scales on the instrument to know what's going on. On the large scale, but we don't improvise with them. Okay, it's like we are supposedly learning the idioms like 2/5 and all that, and then we use them. But of course, they are not in the air. They are constructed on the scales and the arpeggios, and we have to know them. So it has to do with the discipline of practicing the instruments that we have to do. I mean, we cannot skip those. But I think that play scales up and down on a solo, nobody really does that. I mean, maybe in certain musics there are, like Balkan music and Arabic music and Indian music and, Far East and Eastern music, they do that a lot. It's very, scale oriented. And I think the jazz, it's like the knowledge of the scales and the arpeggios is needed, but we don't really involve them. We don't really involve them. I mean, it's like a common practice that we have to know, but we don't really do them. I mean, it's like there are so many things that we don't do really in jazz. We hardly find like even a major chord, like a very, do mi sol, right? As we say in bond languages, we don't really find that unless it's like a Kid Jarrett, special thing that is like almost classical, and he wants to make a tribute to Beethoven or someone, classical. Or maybe Dizzy Gillespie has one tune that goes like classical Con Alma. It's a great tune, but there is like a Bach movement in it. You know, like a tribute to a classical thing, or Jobim and Chopin and all that. How insensitive and the preludes of Chopin. But these are not really jazz. It's like mostly a tribute, a momentary tribute to certain musics. So I hope I answered the question. I mean, we have to know them all. Arpeggios, we have to know them, all of them, and also the scales. But I think that when it comes to improvisation, we have to avoid them because it's like defeats the purpose. I think it's a knowledge that has nothing to do with the creating on the moment stuff. Hopefully, we hear and project whatever we hear. That's like high level that we all want to approach and to be able to do. Okay. Any other questions, please?
So we talked about two fives, But what about
Yeah.
major and minor chords? So just major or only minor? So for example, So What?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
even the
That's
B section from Take the A Train. So we have a 4 bar of F major, and for me,
right.
it's always a problem what to play on those. It's
I
more
know.
complicated than to play on 2/5 because you have
Okay.
phrases, but if you play in phrases on just one chord, it starts to get boring.
Right. Okay. So what we do is, I mean, first of, about miles. Okay. So what? And after that, impressions by Coltrane, which is pretty much the same. It's D minor, goes to E flat minor 7, you know, and staying there. I mean, what happened was that Miles, but it's Miles, okay? He played a lot of bebop, and eventually he said, "Okay, enough with this 2/5s. I don't want it. I want one chord, one scale, just like impressionistic or even folk music. He just wanted to focus on one thing, mostly like meditative, you know. But Coltrane took it, very fast, right away. Impressions, and McCoy, of course, with everything he does. Like Passion Dance is on F, but he does everything in it because he's doing, tons of quarter stuff in there, sus chords and all that. Now, what to do on that is like, I think that here we don't really play the scales, but we play stuff that comes from the blues, because in blues what we have is one scale and 3 chords. Okay, we have 1, 4, and 5. All of them are dominant, right? And we just play one scale, which is pentatonic. So this is basically the rationale of what to do on one chord. It's usually um, constructed in a blues manner. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. Um, okay. So we do this. 2/5. Okay. So we have that chord, right? Then we go to the D. So we can do a lot of stuff. We can develop, the motives. We can give a tribute to the blues, which is always, right to do because everything came from the blues eventually, And a lot of stuff. I mean, we can do fragments and develop motives. There are so many motives in Take the Atrium. For example, we have that sixth, right? This thing. Yeah, and then it comes back different sixth, and then same thing, same shape. The third, okay? La, do, right? So we can use all those. We can take a break from the 2/5s and just enjoy developing motives, okay? We can do a lot of stuff on that F major 7. Okay, so we're in between using the 2/5s and developing motives. So it gives us a lot of things to do. That's this is my suggestion, and we can lean on the blues because the blues is always there. It's always there. I mean, we have to have the blues always. Okay, we have time for another tune if you would like.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Yeah. I also know about the motifs and the importance of the motifs. It's like the motifs are sometimes more important than the scale. You can play on the wrong scale a motif and it's stronger than the chord scale. So if you have more tips about motifs, I would like to hear your thinking maybe in different situations of the motifs. I forgot about the second question, sorry. uh, uh, yeah, can you answer this? And I will ask you the next question when I'll remember
Okay,
it.
about motives, I mean, if we have like C and G and C and E, ba, ba, right? That's like a sixth that we have. We can use it all over. For example, if we tackle the bridge, we can use it CA, okay? And we can use on that very G, D and C, because it's six, you know, and sharp four, whatever. We can use a lot of stuff. We can use the same direction, not necessarily the same interval, like A and E. Um, and we can imitate the melody. We don't have to do exactly the same. That, just like classical musicians, they imitate, the idea. And sometimes they just take the fact that we are using two notes. Pa, pa, to, it could be just any two notes. That's a motivic, you know, um,
Yes.
element by itself, or pam bada badam, the stuff that, that comes in the intro, which is whole tonish, but it can be just major, whatever it can. It's just some scale that is going down. There are so many motives that we can think about, and ba ba do ba da ba, that's another great motive, and also the end, which is a signature thing, ba boom 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 ba ba do ba. We can use it all over. There are so many things. We just have to feel comfortable enough to, to let them come up because they're in the music. They just have to, to be there. Yeah.
So, and the second question was about when transcribed phrase becomes yours. Because it's one thing when you transcribe and you play from memory, and it's a totally different situation when you're in the jam session and you came with your own stuff. And how to make this transition when the transcribed phrase becomes your, and in the instinctive on instinctive playing, it comes like it's pop up on in your head and it's yours already. It's so
Yeah.
how to make more quickly this transaction. Well, I have my ways, but I'm very curious about your ways of making a loved phrase yours.
Okay. I think that, it's a lot of, if we are talking about two fives, my way of thinking or seeing it is like where it does it start from? What part of the two? One or two, the ninth, the third, the fourth. There is a great book by Les Wise. Um, Les Wise is a guitar player. He wrote a bunch of books that you can actually, get online or buy or even, find in some places like Scribd that you pay and you can download a lot of books. Les Wise wrote a beautiful book that is called Bebop Bible. It's kind of pretentious, Bible is Bible, but still it's Bible-ish enough to be called like that, even though it's not that holy, but it's very good. I mean, he has some series of books that concerning bebop and licks, two fives, really excellent, you know. Plus, there's so many people, on YouTube that actually dedicate a lot of information on, two fives. I think that the best is just to make, like, to write a bunch of your favorites and to see, just to make sure that, you have one that starts from the one, from the two, from the third, from the fourth, from the fifth, from the sixth, even from the seventh, and then going up and going down, okay, ascending, descending, and then
like categorize them.
yeah, and then just work on them. And with the guitar, it's very, I know because I played both on guitar and bass guitar, which is my favorite instrument. It's very symmetrical and it's very avid. You can see it. You can really see the phrase, and eventually you can also hear it, which is the purpose. And once you hear it, it's yours, because the process is to get it in the system, in your system, so you can hear it and you can use it and you can broadcast it, so to speak, out, to let it out whenever you can hear it, which means that you are one with the music and you can just imply it on any given moment. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I think that we are almost out of time, so maybe we can play another tune.
Yep. Mr. PC?
Please.
Давай.
Okay. Sounded very good. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay, that was Mr. PC Coltrane, dedicated to Paul Chambers, of course, right? Mr. PC. Great playing. Okay, Christian and everyone, good job. Now, if we want to split this C minor blues, we can tackle it in different ways. I mean, because this is a blues, we can just treat it as a blues. That means that we can just play pentatonic blues all over it, and it sounds good even when we hit that A flat, 7, G7, C. It's fine, no problem, because the thing with blues is that, it has that thing that, everything matches. If you listen to Buddy Hall, um, all those, B.B. King and, the classics, the old people, who play the authentic blues, you know, there's no void. You can do whatever you do. Every note within the pentatonic is okay, even if it's not okay, because it's stronger than than the harmony. I mean, the clashes are actually welcome. So this is one way to tackle the blues. Another way is just to break it into segments of 2/5s, which is pretty much what we do in the improvisation, like C minor and 2/5 and C, and then 2/5 to the 4, and then another 2/5, and then there is a turnaround in the end. So I'll just play it like that. Okay, so one way is just. So I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I'm mixing. I'm playing, the blues, and I'm playing also 2/5s inside, inside. Um, every dominant chord can be split onto being a 2/5, you know. If I go to the F7, I can, break it in two and make the 5. I mean, the 5, it's not really 5, but it's dominant. So I can break it, I can make the F7 C minor 7 F7, so I can play, a 2/5 on it, and then it goes to the A flat, right? Ba ba da ba ba, that German chord as we call it if we're classical, okay? The A flat 7, we can split it into A flat, or E flat minor 7, A flat, D minor 7, G, and then we have more vocabulary going on, okay? You understand what I'm saying? It's like
Yes,
translating the stuff into more 2/5s. That's what he did. And that sounds like very stylish because it's inside and outside at the same time. Okay? But it sounds very good. You guys are, good players. And, it's very, it's great to have great players all over the planet. That's what we have to do.
Uh, I have a question. So you just
Sure.
talked about
Yeah.
playing outside, and
Yeah.
so one way of doing it is imagining the dominant 7 as a 2/5. What other
Yes.
ways do you what other approaches do you have on playing outside?
Okay. I think that the major, whoever invented that, two people actually are the architects of playing out. It's Coltrane and McCoy. Now, I think that Coltrane, his, huge investigation on this goes on some album that is called Live in Sweden. Okay? He does, everything. He does there everything that we hear later, in Michael Brecker's stuff, Randy Brecker's stuff, all the people who play out, Dave Liebman, whoever, everyone. And McCoy, I think that if we go and see, for example, a piece by the name of the Real McCoy from the album Real McCoy, Passion Dance. Okay, he plays, you know, the head is like, you know, it has some structure, but then he goes to the solo, and the solo is on F sus, and he goes out and in and out, in and out, half step in, half step out. He uses a lot of pentatonics, but it's very systematic. You can see that he has it well constructed. It's not just, you know, random. It's not. It's very systematic. So he works on differences of pentatonics. You know, that's the secret. Half step. There is a book by a musician called Ramon Ricker, and this whole book is about the hierarchy, okay, of, you know, different pentatonic, and it's like, you know, inside a little bit more, outside, and more and more and more and more, and, you know, the more out it is, the far, you know, the far it is, it's like a triton thing, but actually a triton, and just beforehand, either half step up or down. There are many people, you know, who wrote a lot of books about it, but I think that if you want to be natural about it, you have to check out McCoy Tyner's solo on, specifically on Passion Dance. That's a very, you know, specific, you know, point of going out. And also Coltrane's, the whole album of Live in Sweden is dedicated to these things. Yeah, that's, I mean, we have to go to the source, and this is the source. That's where it started. And then you can find it, you know, everywhere. You can find it in many, many, you know, mostly sax players. That it sounds, you know, great on piano and saxophone. I think that, you know, many guitar players like Mike Stern and, you know, and Scofield, you know, modern, do that, but it sounds less because, you know, the sax really takes it out, and the piano has, you know, left hand to support it. While, you know, you can hear that Scofield knows what he's doing, but in the whole, it's a whole different thing that, you know, it's very similar to a guitar thing, like Alan Holdsworth and Scofield, and, you know, and Mike Stern, people who play out, you know, and it sounds very specific on the guitar, but it's a whole different gamut, you know. So I think that the best way is just to check out piano players and sax players who do that. Okay, yeah, Passion Dance. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah.
mentioned the difference between playing out on guitar and on saxophone, and I have the
Yeah.
same problem on bass because when I'm trying to play out, and sometimes I try to play, for example, the pentatonic from the minor third, and when I try to
Right.
play out, it just sounds like a mistake because nobody's you know, nobody's playing the chords, and
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
it's very
I think that saxophone can do it. Saxophone can do it, especially if it's McCoy behind the Coltrane, so they know what they're doing, and they're very like in sync with one another, you know, because they work on that, so, you know, together. And piano players can do it easily because, you know, they accompany themselves. So I think that, you know, I'm trying to do it also on the bass, and, you know, I'll send you some links after that. This is a big thing to do. And I think that with bass, if you play higher, you know, above the octave on that little piece there, you know, it sounds better because I think that with the bass, the danger is also because it's slow and it's supposedly responsible on harmony. You know, the bass is the guard of the harmony, you know. So we expect it to be a policeman. And if it freaks out and wants to, you know, be free, it has to go up. It has to go up. I think that Eddie Gomez is doing a little, you know, stuff like that, which is very high. Jaco Pastorius never did anything like that. It's true. But there are some things like Gary who plays, you know, with Tribal Tech. He did some things like that. I'm trying to think about electric bass. You know, Um, Hadrian, you know Hadrian? Pharaoh?
Pharaoh, yeah.
He does that, but he does everything. He's like, what's the name of this kid who sings, impossible things? Collier, Jacob Collier.
Yeah, Jacob.
So, Pharaoh is like the Jacob Collier of the bass. You know, he does all these freaky things that are very, very hard technically, and because of the unbelievable technique, he can do whatever he sounds, and it sounds homogeneous because it's like it's covered with a lot of effects, and he knows how to do it to make it sound great, even if it's not in tune. But again, it's very high. It has to be high on the instrument. It cannot be inside, like it cannot be here. It has to be up there. As far as range, I think it helps. But yeah, you guys all sound very good. You're right there.
Thank you. So, da, spune, da.
Poți tu, e ok.
No, am vrut să facem o concluzie.
No, I have a question. If you have time, we try to make practice in group, and we try to meet like all the necessary part, but it's not always like that. So, what are your advice for group practicing?
Okay.
Or practicing in group.
Yeah, I think ensemble. Right. I think that if you practice, repertoire, try to do a lot of the same, like different blueses, for example, different structures and different forms of the blues, and to handle them, like blues for Alice, and 3/4 blues, different types, and also different eras of time. Okay, very old and very new. Okay, try to touch all the dialects within the language. That's one thing. And then I think that rhythm change is the same thing because it has an evolution. And another thing is just to practice a lot of to learn, just to memorize, the standards that we need. I mean, the thing that we need to know about 500 standards. They're very similar, but we can categorize them by composers, like Gershwin stuff, Cole Porter stuff, for starters, for Rogers and Hammerstein. That helps a lot because we cover periods by doing this, and then we can go and approach more and more materials like hard bop, a lot of Hank Mobley albums, which is not a standard, but we have to know that because it's helpful to know. And Wayne Shorter and Benny Golson, that's like more modern. And eventually, people who are modern like Chick Corea and Herbie and and McCoy and Coltrane. So that's, I think, the main thing is just to practice repertoire and structures to understand all the types of blueses, all the types of rhythm. That's basically what we need to know. That's this is a thing that we can do forever. It's not even limited time-wise. I mean, we have to do it as long as we play.
Okay.
Okay.
Noi suntem pe la final, dragi participanți. So we are coming close to the end of this wonderful masterclass. Thank you so much, Arnon. We would like to
Thanks
thank...
so much for having me.
It was really a pleasure. I'm not a jazz player, but I was listening carefully.
Yes, you are. You are.
Mathematics rule the world, but we should not forget about our souls.
Absolutely.
Because the souls are our speakers, yeah. So we thank you so much. Mulțumim tuturor pentru întrebările puse. Mulțumim. We thank you guys who were in the band. today because you made it like a very interactive masterclass. And we hope, Arnon,
Yeah.
that we can see you in the future, maybe on
Absolutely.
better sound platforms that we already are testing. And maybe if there are some questions, there were some questions about the links. There were some links recommended. Maybe Christian could share them if he gets something from you with the group that we have today. So, yeah,
Thanks so
thank you.
much. If you have any questions, I mean, you can forward any questions through Christian or, either through Facebook, whatever, I'm willing to answer any questions, hopefully, if I know the answer, of course. Okay. So thanks so much for having me and have a blessed day. Have a great day.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
The same for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.